Good evening, Club Cult. Happy Star Wars Day. You enjoying this, Gunther? It's good bath time music. I'll take it. Incoming Serena spam. And we'll bop into the aforementioned Discord. And then hop into some SWTOR. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to play this all day. Welcome to the Stream the Dreams project. And thank you all oh so very much for all of your support so far with Voya Bean's outstanding medical bills, because those are fun. They're super fun. I did fix the game too, so it doesn't keep blurping out on us. Go Serena, go Serena. Welcome, Jadix. You webs hop into the Discord. Please do not forget to green check them there rules so that I can reel you in offline. It's not magical, it's not automatic. I press the buttons. Let a girly press the buttons. Oh, thank you for that, Gunther. We appreciate your dedication. Yes, open game. Oh, and caps lock Serena again. Can't log in with caps lock. How are we doing this? Not like that. Here? Yes, because the game is that way. Think like that. Pull us out of purgatory. Swap our category over here. The Old Republic. Beautiful. It felt so loud last night. Now it feels so quiet today. Not quiet, but less loud than yesterday. Captain Serena TV. Aye, aye. Aye, aye, Capitan. Didn't we already choose? Thought so. What we have is better than that. We don't have shoes yet, though. Well, we do, but they're crap. Some better pants. Get rid of those. Aww. I don't like not being matchy. That's fine. Oh, we're in this fucking labyrinth. This is intense. It's probably a little better. Did you just turn the world funny colors? Bro. I must have been very tired last night. This was like seeming impossible last night. What are you?
And finally, strange reports from soldiers stationed on the remote and battle-torn planet of Illum. A mysterious starship of unknown design has apparently touched down at the outskirts of the battle zone. Official sources have refused to comment.
Greetings, honored biped. The Gree Enclave extends orange parallel to you with this unidirectional transmission message. Elation progresses throughout the Enclave.
Is that like a digital
orange? An ancient starship crafted by revered Gree ancestors has reappeared from its multi-millennial task of exploration. Grey Secant has chosen the world you call Illum for its next site of analysis. The intricacies of your culture's warfare dominate its interest. The Enclave deems you essential for analysis by Grey Secant. Join us on Illum, demonstrate combativeness for Grey Secant, and Gree technologies will be given in return.
I feel like he's trying to sell me something versus inform me of something. We're all just having a meeting at this elevator. I think we're playing in the Gambler Quest. Oh yeah, we needed to board a shuttle. And I could not figure that out. Through here. Would be this one that looks the most obvious. Board a shuttle to Coruscant. Okay, let's go. We zooming. Zooming and zooming. Oh, we still have our little buddy. It's fun. It's the customs terminal. Okay, never been through customs before. This will be interesting. This looks like very nice and peaceful. customs terminal.
You've got a minute, Captain. I've got something on my mind.
What?
You've got a minute, Captain. I've got something on my mind. You've got a minute, Captain. I've got something on my mind.
So, spit it out. This looks shiny. No, that's way far off. That can't be right. Are you a customs terminal? I guess. Who welcomes you, gentle being? That's so cute. Please hold for customs enforcement agent. Uh-oh. Men. Oh, I've got something on my mind. A minute later. Collapses on the ground. I think that's a little better. We don't need to be so tall tonight. Request have a pleasant stay. Well, that we shall then. Oh, he faked it.
Everything on Coruscant is huge. You see those city towers as we flew in? How many people you figure live in those? Millions?
Oh, I need to minimize my task. I can't see the third dialogue option. Okay, that's better.
Let's go find Skavik and disintegrate.
Not here on vacation. We're here for business. I don't know what the business is, but business.
Want to find Skavik before we're too old to shoot straight?
Oh yeah, we have to find Skavik. Forget help and forget you. That's not very nice.
Got someone particular in mind?
I happen to know the perfect guy. There's a gambler named Darmus Pollerin who keeps tabs on everything worth knowing about Coruscant. Good man. You'll like him.
What else do you know?
Vidu called him an information broker. When Darmus isn't playing Sabak, he buys and sells the kind of answers we need. I still have Vidu's
looks like you've got a bunch of key
contacts,
scratches on his
Darmus is one of
face.
them.
Like PB
Give me a
slept on
second,
his face
and
or
we'll talk to
something.
the man himself.
Corso, is that you? It's been too long, you rascal. What brings you to Coruscant?
A friend and I are in a real bind. Is there a place we can meet you?
Of course. Come to my private cantina booth. I'm here now, winning my 10th anniversary against a very persistent rodent. Hope you don't mind the occasional blaster fire. The canteen is in a rowdy part of Coruscant.
I'll be there as quick as I can.
I look forward to meeting you in person.
Zooming on
I expect
over.
it will brighten my day considerably.
Keep your comlink channel open, Darmus. I've got some bad news about Vidu. I'll bring Darmus up to speed while we travel, Captain.
Be
Don't tell
discreet.
Darmus anything he doesn't need to know.
You got it.
Okay, where's our Fran? This one? Spaceport. green. He's just stuff. Ooh, conquest points. It did nothing. I need to go to the middle. There is no middle door. There's only side doors. None of them are him.
Welcome. Please
Oh.
select an available travel route. Have a safe and pleasant
Taking
stay.
a galactic market taxi? At least I don't have to drive for this one. Oh, I am driving. So I'm like my own Uber driver? That's interesting. You've discovered a galactic market sector. You almost said that. Oh, I thought our ship was yellow, but I guess it's green. Dun 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 dun. I thought we were landing at the other pad. Blurp. Why don't we see him in the ship? Is he in the trunk? What happened there? Is there a stairway? Oh. Secret, sneaky, hidden stairs. I hear cantina music. I think you have to go through there to get to there. Not a map, girly. Ooh, oh baby. Is this what AI will bring us in the next insert amount of years here? Or months even? Our gambling friends. They be doing the gamba. How can you even tell if he has a poker face?
Forgive me for being so forward, but you're more radiant than a Tatooine sunset. Darmus Polarin, at your service.
Who does he sound like to me? Flanagan Ryder? Like when he first meets Punzi and he's trying to be super suave. Right.
I'm sure you say that to all the girls.
Nonsense,
I'm
my dear.
sure he does.
I can't remember the last time this dark cantina seemed so bright and lively.
Give it up, old man. She's not your type.
Ah, Corso. Good to see you in person, my boy. Sorry to hear about Vidu. He was a man of refined taste and
Oh yeah, I forgot he
a
died.
terrible card player.
It was
I'll truly
unfortunate.
miss him. Life is like sabacc.
My alter ego's
Just release a
hand
quick
too,
while
no
you're ahead
less.
and enjoy your winnings.
Irina.
Exactly how I'll spend my twilight years.
I'll still be flying around this galaxy 100 years from now.
I
In a
like your
perfect
spirit,
world.
Captain. Sometimes I think I'm already too old for this business. Now, I
You
know
did
this isn't a
turn
social
off this
call.
chat, that was annoying.
Corso says you have troubles, and I'm prepared to help.
There.
A man named
Where's my
Scott
ship?
stole my freighter and brought it
This
here.
is my own personal
Corso
mission.
mentioned a
Where's
cargo
my damn
full of
ship?
stolen blasters, and the infamous Rogun the Butcher, too. My sympathies. Skavik is well known in the galactic underworld. He's earned death sentences across the galaxy for everything from armed robbery to kidnapping. He's known to be in the Sith Empire's pocket, and he even cheats at cards. I'm happy to help you find him.
Skavik works for the Empire?
Give me
On
more
occasion,
information.
yes. The man isn't particular about his friends. Let's hope that makes him easier to catch. Soon as Corso mentioned Skavik's name, I alerted all my best informants. I'm getting some interesting leads.
What did I tell you, Captain? Darmus can find out anything. We'll have Skavik in no time.
How much do you want for your information, Darmus?
All
This
magic
information is
comes
free
with a
of
price,
charge, my
dearie.
dear. I would never consider extorting credits from a beautiful woman in distress. Skavik recently used the services of a data slicer named Kixie in the Migrant Merchants Guild headquarters. Quite talented, I hear.
What do you know about this guild?
It's made up of aliens who lost their homes in the war. The Guild's original goal was self-preservation, but lately, they've become greedy. Kixie
Guess it
might
is
be
a
able to
fine
help you
line
flush
between the
Skavik out
two.
of hiding.
Self-preservation
Be careful,
and
though.
greed.
The Guild is well armed and doesn't like outsiders. Excuse me, darling, but there's a Chargarian with more credits than sense. I really shouldn't let him leave with all his money.
I don't think he's actually that nice. I think he's just on like a gambler's high.
That ought to fix you.
Use the security panel. Where would the security panel be? Way back at the beginning. Green means go. Woo! Oh baby, throw some credits. The last part we need is grayed out. Does that mean it's locked? Don't be locked. I need this direction. Oh, why is it gray on the map? That's weird. Oh, now it's blue. Oh, places we haven't gone yet are grayed out. I guess there's some trouble here. Goodness golly. Oh, what does this do? Durasteel armor. Oh, it gives us a fuck ton of armor for a hot minute. That's cool.
That ought to fix you.
Well, thank you.
They wanted to make an example of us for not paying protection money.
I don't like how bold they're getting.
Oh, there's a blurb out of I might have. Oops. I didn't mean to. I don't know what I did. booped me. Wasn't very nice. Booped me. Welcome, Calm. Happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. There's so many troublemakers over here. Oh, we need to take the lift, so we have to fight these guys. You booped me too. No, no boops allowed. No boops allowed. Oh no, too close, too close. That's my fault. I'm getting too close. Oh, it's going back down. Will it smush me? I don't know, it just goes right through me. That's like an inefficient but efficient way to get on the elevator. Snifty. Oh, I forgot my login rewards. Claim. No. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. Oh, what did that accomplish? Nothing. Oh. I don't know why I didn't consider that would nuke my health. Oops. Whoops the days. No booping allowed. No booping allowed. Who? Oh. Okay. We survived. I didn't need to go up the elevator. I don't know. I just saw the elevator and went up it. I don't know why. I don't even like elevators. Do 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 do. I have the Cantina song stuck in my head. Actually, it's been stuck in my head on and off all day. But that's okay. I'm excited for when we have a better gun. Eliminated. Welcome, Panda. Happy Star Wars Day. Thank you, thank you. I hope the day has been kind to everybody. I mean, it's Monday, but it's Star Wars Day. I feel like that kind of cancels out the Monday factor. I don't think I can just run through here without running into trouble. Nope. I'm spoiled or something. I think I can. I think you can do these things, Nemo, but you just can't. Oh, I should have gone bit by bit. Now we have two groups at us at once. No. Not cool. It's not okay. Sorry, friend. I didn't mean to leave you in trouble here. Zeppy zeppy. Buzz buzz. Target. That was an uncomfortable moment. Loot, 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 loot. I'm getting a bunch of useless shit in my inventory. Don't just stand there. Do something. Don't just do something, stand there. I clicked your butt. Hee hee. This guy and I are just going for a walk together. The guild cutter. It's a group effort. Getting close. That way. The other way. Or is it? Need to go through from up here? Maybe. What did I do to just break all of that? Sploop. Zappy zappy zazoo. Good stuff. He does. I think I'm out of range. Yes. Keyboard in like slightly better angle. There we go. It's more finger friendly. The off-world forager. There, but not. Is there a way to open you? Use the security panel. You are not eligible to enter this time. Well, you look like a security panel, but I guess you're not. This looks like a help desk. Why isn't there someone there to help me? I would appreciate that. Security panel. What security panel? What security panel do you speak of? It's in the corner over here. I don't think so. I have a buddy, but he's an NPC. I'm playing solo, but it is an online game. It's Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's kind of old. I think it came out in 2011. But it's so fucking good. Alright, let's create a safety corner. Figure out where the security panel is. Sheesh. Like it's somewhere over there. I don't know. I don't know. you in your little safety bubble. 3-month subs are welcome to play along, though. Oh, we got some new shoes. Let's get some shoes. Let's get some shoes. Oh, could I even pick them up? Where does this even go to? What is that? Is that armor? Complimentary major experience boost. What a funny thing. Med pack. Emissions governor. Give a gift to your companion. To increase your influence with them. Oh, you're so welcome. Captain provides. Oh, up here. Primitive stone ornament. That looks pretty. I want to keep it. I don't need to, but it looks too pretty. Must keep it. Oh, we had one more thing we could give to our companion. There. The cultural artifact.
Thank you.
If I was a security panel, I wouldn't exist. I don't know where this might be. Alright, are your shoes better now? Are your shoes better than my shoes? No. Garbage. That looks security panel-y, but I don't know about that. Pretty little something over here. I don't know what this is supposed to be. There's cherries growing out of the ground. I'm a bit perplexed. Okay, we are nowhere near something security panel-y. Where's the security panel? We got stuff from them. Do we need those? Bounty data pad has no use, but can be sold to a vendor. No use, but can be sold to a vendor. That's, I think, where we need to go. We can't. And that's not a security thing. Is it maybe upstairs? Jump backwards, bitch. We got some hot loot. I don't think there's a security checkpoint. Welcome, Midnight Dynamite. Happy Star Wars Day. Oh, Hublarg. Where is you? guild muscle. It's quite a title. Plenty of stuff over here. I guess we picked it all up. Do you know things? The future is upon us. Ow, ow! See, but there's one live person working. An almost similar outfit. AI will take over, but never fully. Okay, it has to be down in that corner. Maybe this thing? It seems a little far off. No. No. Oh, I didn't know you were evil. I was just trying to ask a question. Say don't shoot the messenger, but what do I do if the messenger is shooting me? It was unfortunate. Those always look like something to me, but it's never something. Oh, is there something else I needed to do first? Oh, that's the one that popped up on the side that I thought I blurped out of. Oh, maybe we have to defeat a certain amount of enemies to continue through. Defeat non-player opponents while on Coruscant. 39 out of 50. Use the security panel in the Migrants Merchants Guild area to gain access to the computer lab. So defeat some enemies we shall. You are who is left. You. 44 out of 50. 3 more. We know they turn evil. $49. $50. Okay, that's complete. We get access to a panel now. Maybe it is up. Oh, there's just ships over there. That's not a security panel. Okay, we're consulting Google. Identity crisis. That is the security panel. According to this. Clearance pass to get through the security field. Acquire clearance pass from the guild off underbosses in the Migrant Merchants Guild area. Alright, I accidentally trashed a security pass at some point. Someone up here has something for me. How are you out of range? Yes, I'm in a bubble. Take the credits. There's one underboss. Not what I need. But there is an underboss over here. Must be leaving the guild market though. Go up. Your ship is on fire, my friend. Telecommunicator credits. Bounty data pad credits. No. This panel requires a clearance pass obtained earlier to proceed with the finding the slicer. We need the clearance pass. Is correct. Can't go any further here. We're not allowed in this phase at this time. Welcome, miss. Happy Star Wars Day. I hope the day's been kind to you. You look like you have a big name. You more underboss. Maybe it had to be before. This room was full of drama. Back it up. Back it up. I'm on fire. This girl is on fire. Or maybe she was just hovering over me. I don't know. One of us is on fire. Maybe both of us. Either is possible. Not too much exciting over there. Just unhelpful. Target not enemy. Well, now we know. Rainier cherries are top tier cherries. I'm kind of picky with cherries. Rainier cherries are top tier. I don't remember what time of year they're the best, but my grandpa would always have them. Maybe we do need an elevator somewhere? I don't know.
The Guild's got a ton of stolen cargo in that warehouse. Burn it down, and we'll hit them where it hurts. Their ledger.
That's on you, not on me. Maybe this thing. It's a glowy thing. Glowy things are important. Oh, I didn't mean to join their silly little side quest. Doesn't interrupt much. It's okay. Boom. So all security charts. I need underbosses. Boom. I just think that means something and it never does. Never does. Where's the key for you? Him. Got him. Got him. It's over here. Someone has to have the key thing. Someone. I don't know who, but someone. Triggered muzzle. Let's say underboss. Security droid. Eh. Oh, you're still going. Whoops. Oops, the dice. Underboss is over here. No. We'll have to go all the way around town for this. Oh, he's an underboss. Maybe he'll have it. Nope. Muzzle, trigger, and scout. Underboss. I've reached a point of no more backwards motion. Useless.
That ought to fix you.
Oh, why, thank you. sweet. German scout. Underboss. At least we figured out that we need a key for the security thing. Or not a key, what do they call it? Something to grant access. Useless. Muscle, triggerman. Scout, triggerman. Muscle. Just go around it. Sneakity sneak sneak. Oh. Hello. Quelle surprise. Maybe it's him. Maybe. Oh. We've been everywhere on the map so far. Goodness golly. Golly gee willikers, Batman. I need more details.
And the infamous
Dances in the guild headquarters. She's a beautiful novelin with lovely green head.
Oh, all the way over here for a security panel?
and the infamous
No, we talked to him.
Without any
need of it.
A lot more people here.
We got in there.
Oh, all the way over here for a security panel?
Obi-Wan Cannoli.
Jeez.
Welcome, Sargetics. Help me, Obi-Wan Cannoli. You're my only pastry. It's a year where I did a cooking stream for Star Wars Days, and I did cafe au lait. It was the menu based off of the Big Bang series episode of Star Wars Day. Attack of the Scones, and what else? Ig. That's not helpful. What were they specifically? What was the other one? Reddit knows. Reddit knows everything. Wookie cookies? Oh, that's cute. I didn't think about that. I didn't do any of those. Those are all inspired, though. Admiral Akbar's snack bar. What was the other thing that I made? Oh my god. It's gonna drive me nuts. Shouldn't be hard to find Star Wars themed things. I wrote everything up on a chalkboard, I think. So I should have it all listed. I think. I make no promises. What year was that? 2023, I think? Because I took pictures of all the food that I made. Attack of the Scones. I don't think Leia has any lines in the slave outfit. She's just trying to behave and not be frozen. Maybe I just did the two. I was looking for these bottoms. I put gold bikini bottoms under what I was wearing earlier. I was looking for those bottoms and I can't find them in the bikini drawer. I don't know where they went. They were originally Harry Potter themed. So I suspect that they're with Harry Potter cosplay stuff. Okay, that's too early in time. I found this picture of Chauncey and Chong earlier too. Looks like Chong's sitting on his head. Miniaturized Chong. It's a frap. I should post this in the Discord later. It's a frap. Did I really only take pictures of the scones? I did one more thing and I don't remember what it was for the life of me. But it was inspired by the Big Bang Theory's menu that Raj put together. Maybe that will help. Okay, I give up, but it turned out good, whatever it was. Mostly, everything I make turns out good.
I'm desperate now.
I wish I could help, Nick. I really do.
I don't remember him talking to him. Where did he go for that? We have to go in the strip club?
This place doesn't seem to be very public for a kid,
Or is that part of the entryway? It might have been part of the entryway. Maybe I need to fully backtrack. Chong hats are peak fashion. No better fascinator than a live cat.
All the way here for a security
It's
panel?
so funny. I don't know if he was setting up on pillows or how he even got that perspective. It was cute.
I'm desperate now.
I wish I could help, Nick. I really do, but I can't spare the manpower.
This is a side story.
Reduced to indifference to the suffering of aliens?
Never count on the government.
Rely on a good blaster, not bureaucrats.
That's easy for a hardened mercenary to say. We are peaceful merchants. It is apparently also our misfortune to be aliens.
Cafe au lait, Attack of the Scones.
Over by gangsters who call themselves the Migrant Merchants
Fuck if I
Guild.
know what
While
else.
Republic security,
I know I didn't just make coffee and cookies.
your safety. You know that.
I did something else.
Buried under rubble during the war.
It's gonna bug me.
Not our fault the businessmen here are all crooks.
Well, maybe I can assist.
Be polite.
And I do so need someone.
See, that's how like odd their micro transgressions have been lately. Where you guys can't see behind me. But Zeke is just grooming himself next to Gunther. Now his paw is stuck. BB. You're stuck, I'm gonna help you. Okay, you got unstuck. Zeke just rolled a little bit while he was next to Gunther. And Gunther got upset because he got super close all of a sudden. But Zeke has also been coming up to Gunther, whereas he used to just stand next to Voya and like wait for playtime. He's initiating playtime with Gunther, but Gunther doesn't want to do playtime with him. So Gunther's just getting smacked, and then Gunther's just hissing. I think it'll just take time for them to rebalance their feelings.
The Migrant Merchants Guild claims to protect us, but all they do is exploit us. Okay. Now the guild has kidnapped my mate Rhea.
The one who was here first and laid out how the world works for them is not here, and now they have to figure it out again. That was a hiss from Gunther. Gunther is not shy with his hisses. If he feels even just slightly uncomfortable, he makes it known.
My beloved is worth a great deal to me. Bring him back and I'll reward you handsomely.
Do you have to go be Captain Save-A-Ho?
Okay.
I don't know if this is a side quest or part of it.
I always was a sucker for people in love.
Oh, I think we do maybe have to be Captain Save-A-Ho.
This means to me. Rhea is being held with the other dancers in the guild headquarters. She's a beautiful novelin with lovely green headdresses. I'm sure you'll know her.
What does the side of their screen say? Backtrack, try? How would we even backtrack? This way? I love Zeke, but he can be a little overbearing at times. I don't blame Gunther for speaking up for himself. Zeke is just like so out of sorts though. He even got upset with me last night. I think this is backtracking. Ignore my existence. Good boys. Doop. JK. Too far. Started watching a show called Skinwalker Ranch because you misread it and thought it was called Skywalker Ranch. I've seen little bitty previews for Skinwalker Ranch and it looks quite good actually. Were you enjoying it, or did you nope out of it when you realized it wasn't the Wars of the Stars? Did I come from this way and I'm backtracking? I know not where I go. No, we went through there. My theory is just go back to the beginning, if I can find the beginning. It's my new attempt at the way around the world here. Are there any good Star Wars documentaries?
Shut down their cranes and cut off their escape.
Where am I on the map? Not inside. Inside I would have missed the canteen. But maybe? Are we still inside? Oh, there's Sky. Oh my god. I think there's a way to reset it and take you back. Let's see what that does. I don't want that one. That didn't do anything. It just reset my progress, but I had no progress, so it doesn't matter. It matters not. Then shoot Zazzy. It's part of the side quest. I think we started in a general this way direction. I think. Is there really a bunch of Star Wars documentaries? I had never even looked nor considered. If there's any that are good, pop them into the Discord, please. Like any sort of paranormal research thing, it doesn't really answer anything. No, but it still keeps you on the edge of your seat. Maybe. I don't know. Most of them do. They make you think that you're gonna learn something and then you never do. Or rarely do. What did I see earlier? We might do a True Crime Thursday this week. Oh, something about Amelia Earhart. I don't know if this is even true or not. Bookmarks. I found it scrolling on Twitter. Use your best discretion for what that even means. Maybe I did not bookmark it because I'm more than likely... I know I opened the video on YouTube in my histories. No spoilers. Supposedly, she sent out distress signals and they were ignored by men because they thought she was a foolish woman. I don't know. Communication failures. Small detail that could have saved her. Like, this will ultimately tell us nothing. But it will still tell us a mildly interesting something. Perhaps. We shall see. Oh, you already got it. That was unhelpful. I've never seen that theory before, though, that she sent out distress signals that were ignored. Bounty database. No use. No use. No use. Well, yes, use. At some point, we'll have to hold on to things to sell, probably for whatever reason, but I think for now I'm good. That was some Spider-Man jumps. Dude, pretty sexist to ignore a distress call. Well, I mean, think of the time that she was flying in. Could women even vote then? She went missing in 1937. Women could not vote then. I don't know when we got the right to vote. I think in the 70s. Oh no, in 1920. I did, so I mean, she did have the right to vote, but like barely. I can't really see a... Well, it's questionable. Let me rephrase that. As of the 20s, white women could vote pretty widespreadly. But the men probably didn't like it. I laugh, but it's not funny. Bloop. That's gonna hurt me. Oops. I mean, I don't think my grandpa would have been one of the... I think he would have been a bit of a better man and would not have ignored the distress signals, you know? But there are probably plenty of men that just did not care and thought, oh, what a foolish woman. It's her fault for attempting this. I can see that being a pretty legit mentality to have. Not excusable, but existable. Oh, maybe I don't want to jump over that edge. Crikey. Supposedly, her distress signals were ignored. But I was reading through the comments, and, I mean, also men. But women, too. A variety of people were replying in the comments, saying, like, she never sent out distress signals, or they were sent out on the wrong communication channel or something, which is possible. So I don't really know. All I know is this information that I've never come across before, and I'm fascinated. Oh, poor buddy. You're going through it over here. Not bad.
There. Better?
I'm sure it is biased. Most conspiracy theorists are biased because they believe in the conspiracy. You have to shape the pieces of the truth and inference to your... What's the word I'm looking for? To your own agenda. To believe what you choose to believe. What was that movie, The Number 23, where the guy went nuts, like, seeing the number everywhere? That's what I think about conspiracy theorists. Like, if all you can see is the number 3, nothing else will ever be an option for you. You're just gonna believe what you believe, because it looks like it makes enough sense to be true. Get off of me! Rude. Rude boy. I feel like this is a little too far back that we need to go to the meeting, but that's okay. Maybe it'll make sense, maybe it won't. Maybe I did wholly go too far. To security officers. Old Galactic Market, that's not where you want it. Alec Efron? Is that like Zac Efron's awkward cousin? Oh, this is like true beginning. There's no strip clubs over here. I don't think. Run! 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 It's a very accurate observation. Midnight Dynamite. For the last 5-ish years, the difference between a conspiracy theory and an accepted fact is 3 to 6 months. It's like a gestational period for lack of information. I think that's the strongest theory so far, is that she was so off course. And then she ran out of fuel, I think is what we think, somewhere over the Bermuda Triangle. That's what I remember being taught-ish in school. I don't know. But something about communications failure, whether she was truly ignored or wasn't on the right frequency or wasn't reaching out to the right places. And I'm curious. I'm curious what someone else's take on this is. Amelia Earhart is like quicksand. You think like her story will be much more important and pivotal through your adult life, and it's really not, but it's still fascinating. Okay, redo. Jump it over the box. Now do I need the elevator? Oh, well. That's what happens when you just stand around. Impartiality is difficult. So it's nice to keep an open mind. But it's also hard to ignore, like, what feels like facts. Some mining shoes. We're gonna take those. Some Schmed pack. Let's get some shoes. Let's get some shoes. Why can those not overlap? Are they not the same thing? Ramp. Probably not gonna get past these guys. You like watching the Skinwalker ramp? Oh my god, I swear to god I can read. Enjoying watching the Skinwalker Ranch. Enjoying watching the Finding Bigfoot stuff. Oh, that I didn't see. It's when they see something weird and leap to the conclusion that supports their beliefs that I scoff. Yeah, I mean, you need proof that is proof, not just something that looks proof enough. I don't think Bigfoot is real, but I think the sightings are. Like, I think it's either probably a sick animal, or I think there are people that live in the woods, like just off the grid. And we don't have regular access to a shower. Probably end up looking a little Bigfooty. Probably end up smelling a little Bigfooty. Like, I think it's real, but I don't think it's Bigfoot. Oh, well, hello. Hello there. Go-to is human error. It's the most common thing historically. Either she made a mistake or co-pilot or the mechanics. I would venture to agree with that. But I'm curious if there's any actual proof that she was ignored. I've never considered that concept before. It's never been presented to me before. I don't want to go out there. There are absolutely people that live off-grid. Like, not even off-grid, but like just purely, I would consider off-grid like a little tiny house or cabin or something of the sort. I would think this is like more of like a Bushwick builder kind of mountain man mentality. That's what I would see it as. No cosplay tonight, just here in my true princess form. Welcome, Matt Topher. I hope the night is being kind to you. Happy Star Wars Day. I gotta swoop through here again. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Run! Run, Forrest, run! Just prepping for battle. We're battling. If we cosplay tomorrow, I have a couple options, but I don't know which one I want to choose. One of them is like very awesomely accurate, but I'm like completely covered. The other one you guys have seen before. I mean, this one I'll inevitably be Lizzie McGuire, the outfit repeater with, because it's just too fun and perfect, but I don't know what I want to do for tomorrow. There's still dude. Okay. This way? I'm not gonna avoid your nonsense. Pacific is just too big to find any empirical evidence. It'll be conjecture for so long. I'm curious though if any of like there's sonar scanning shows. There's one on Disney, I can't remember what it's called. But they end up making a picture of underwater. I don't know if they actually use sonar or what maybe it's LiDAR scans. And I wonder if they'll ever find her stuff from there. I mean, again, the ocean is fucking huge, so how can you really scan all of it realistically? But if you could map out quick enough sectors within a certain season of the tides, it could be doable. It could be. If you told us this is what you wear every day with the zoo, I don't think you'd be surprised. Honestly, I could do the top. The skirt's just a little bit too long. I gotta take a break to Tinky anyway. It goes over my feet. It's too long. Give me some sweatpants instead. Burb, 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 burb. Top is taped on though, which is a little bit awkward and uncomfortable. But this is pretty much summer Serena wear, except, you know, instead of like tassels, we just have bottoms. Think you're just about a rope and a lightsaber away from cosplaying as a Jedi in your day-to-day. Please do, and when you do, please Discord share or link us to the paywall, something of the sort. Oh wait, that sounds dirty, because you know you're wearing a robe, but then you have your lightsaber. I'm gonna show myself out now. I cannot be here anymore. That would be for a paywall.
You're all right.
annoying when skirts and dresses drag on the ground and this drags on the ground. That's annoying. I mean, if you forget to tie your robe, you're immediately at the cosplay. Hang on, now I'm getting ideas. I need just the robe. So you know, why can't it be that easy for me to create content? I mean, I guess it could be, but it wouldn't be as exciting, maybe. I lost the script club. Don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. Just electrocuting bitches. Who's behind me? Bro. I thought I heard battle while I was going tinky. Did I get shot at? I feel like I did. Hello, Cater. I have like the hiccups or something. It's annoying. Go away. Oh, I passed it? Or I lost it? Maybe I should have kept going back when we were back. Son of a bitch. Can I make the map big? M usually means map. Why won't you show me what the rooms are? It's even less helpful. This is not where I meant to be. I mean, it is, but I need a key to access the security portal, which is here. This is ultimately where we need to go. And I need a key for this thing that I get from one of the underbosses. But I need the script club, I think. I don't know, according to YouTube. You're going to suggest a documentary about the 501st Legion called Behind the Bucket, but it's not free anywhere. Aww. Is it for rent on Amazon, though? When I don't need stuff right away, I choose the later shipping thing so that you get the credit for rentals. So most of what I ever watch on Amazon is free. In here? No. It's over here. Trouble, trouble, trouble. And rent it on YouTube? Oh. Why not Prime? I don't have YouTube credits. I only have SWTOR and Amazon credits. Back out, here we go. I need to find the script club. Where did my digital scrippers go? Where? Let's see. Behind the bucket. It's on. Oh, it's rent for $2.99. Voodoo turned into Fantango. Voodoo turned into Fandango. I need to be mute like Leia. Voodoo used to be a streaming site with predominantly like Korean dramas, but now they got bought out by Fandango and they have the whole movie library going on there. Ah, it is on Amazon. Or Prime, I guess. I don't know. May not be available in the United States. Oh. A litter droid. Tried a litter droid for the litter boxes. It's free with ads on YouTube. Nice. Even when you rent stuff on Amazon, it has ads, which is dumb. I don't remember if it does in Fandango or not. We're super backtracking again. It's the only way I know how to get unlost is just go backwards. Just start over. And just save the credits and watch it on YouTube with ads. It's nice to have a break in ads, like watching on a different streaming service too. They're less annoying and addy. No, it should not have ads. It bothers me even though, like, I don't know. I don't know if it should bother me or not. But it bothers me. Obviously, you can't run things on Disney, but when you're watching a movie on Disney, I get it for shows. But watching a movie on Disney, you get ads too, and it's like, man, come on. We don't want that. That irks me. I feel like movies should be ad-free. For how much of a TV catalog there is on Disney now, they can make enough on just TV ads. And the YouTube ads are skippable. I feel like ads should have a library as well. Like if we are stuck in this world of advertisement, there should be some kind of choose your own adventure. I kind of like how some of commercials now, like Progressive I think is one of them, where it pops up on the screen for Hulu and says like, choose which one you would rather see. But I wish there was a way to say like, oh, this is not interesting to me. Give me a different ad. Need more free will in the world. Surveyed the entire map. You look fun. Oh god, we fight you. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I just clicked him because I didn't know what he was. Now the med center is gonna take us back all the way. Or we can call the medical probe. Does that cost a certain amount of credits? Medical probe has been dispatched. Revive me. I don't remember what that does. Oh, it just revives you right then and there. You have 12 seconds to get to safety. Okay. We're gonna get to safety now. Where am I on the map? I don't think up here was the answer. No. Where's the cantina? God damn it. This is my villain origin story. Tomorrow we're playing as a Sith because I can't be good anymore after this. Fucking select. There's a world boss. Not in my world. I like premium, but I don't like that premium is going up in price. Everything is going up in price. Just fucking stop it. Just stop. No water healing chamber cutscene. Apparently not. Boo. Boo. They did used to do that. Oh, I think they should bring that back. The world needs to listen to me. Serena for president. I mean, they shouldn't listen to me about everything, but sometimes I do have good ideas. A president for the people. I am making like 0 damage with you. Another. And then there is another. Christ almighty. Nonsensical biscuits. It's very cult leader vibes of me tonight. It's because I'm a princess. I have princess privilege tonight. Because I say so. Why are you gonna shoot at a princess? That's not okay. Why'd you just stand there and get Morgana, buddy? Of course though. Come on now. Where'd you go? Brave Blocks ads. That's cool. It's very cool. Okay, just sneaky. Good boy. Dang it. You didn't sneaky. You're sneaking. Oh, you won't let me just run away and jump down? Stinky. I'm just standing there useless. Leo's pretty down to earth. I mean Alderaan. Would it be Aldarian or Alderaan if she's from Alderaan? Would a citizen of Alderaan be an Aldarian? Alderaanian? Need some perspective on this. I need to know the specifics of my princessdom. Maybe it was just all way before climbed up with us. Way before the bridge. Let me see. You're gonna heal me anyway, who cares? Oh. Oh. I should have kept going back just to be certain. It was useless. Alderaanite. That's hard to say. Alderaanite. Alderaanite. It's awkward. But I can get behind it. That's awkward. Why does Darth Vader have bad luck with the ladies? Because none of them can fix him, and then eventually they just give up and leave because he won't fix himself. Can't rely on someone else for your own happiness. That got a little too deep, my bad. Concourse lounges. Okay, maybe this is a little more where we need to be. Where's the Scrippers? Scrippers is over there. Okay, this way. I've completely forgotten whatever I watched to tell me things. I think whatever the other situation was is a side quest. Here? No, you're just a bunch of NPCs. Ezekiel, do you mean anything? I guess not at the moment. It's blocked. Restricted access. Ow! Ow! Relaxing patron. Relaxing patron. Dabba-dabba-dabba-dabba-da. I think this is too far in. I am determined. No, he was completely in a different corner. Where the fuck are you?
Yeah, let's go see if we can find our girl. Cost.
How much do you want for your information, Doris?
We're
Nothing.
going backwards.
I couldn't live with myself taking advantage of a man who lost his starship.
Yeah,
Three calls.
Okay, that's through there. That's where we are.
I think there'd be a lot more people here.
Back to the exit. Look for a tree. You are not for me. I didn't pay enough for the private room. The tree! You're not a person, but you're a thing. And the thing that means anything. He would be in one of these corners. Think.
Yeah, well, we were here for a security panel.
This way. Sense some channeling. Oh, because he was looking for love in Alderaan places. Oh, that's funny. Sensing some channeling here. Oh no. Find it curious that you're lost most of the time but instantly know where the Scrippers are. This time it was a bit of a battle to find, but we found the Scrippers. It's a boobdar. The boobies find the boobies. Hey, level up, level up. You're legal now. What do you want to drink? I'm really trying hard to like find this on my own, and I'm not. I'm not. We're like approximately here at the moment. Through the green door. Then does it go caddy corner? Green door and caddy corner. Please let this work.
I'm desperate, Mal.
I wish I could help, Nick. I really
Captain
do,
Save a
but
Ho.
I can't spare
Up
the
in this
manpower.
bish. Let's go.
Is this what the Republic has been reduced to? Indifference to the suffering of aliens?
Never
Rely
count
a
on the
good blaster,
government.
not bureaucrats.
I like that.
That's easy for a hard mercenary to say. But we are peaceful merchants. It is apparently also our misfortune to be aliens. For us, there is no justice. We are ruled over by gangsters who call themselves the Migrant Merchants Guild. While Republic security...
Nick, none of you should be living here. We can't guarantee your safety. You know that.
He has
Our
not
homes
him.
were buried
Him.
under rubble during
It's
the
like
war.
Christopher
Our fault
Moltisanti
the businessmen
vibes.
here are all crooks.
Please
I
calm down.
understand things are difficult, but getting excited won't help.
Calm down.
Excited. This isn't some minor inconvenience. The Republic considers us squatters and wants us out. The Migrant Merchants Guild claims to protect us, but all they do is exploit us. Now the guild has kidnapped my mate Rhea.
They need a
in order to
union.
work as an entertainer. Rhea, forced to dance for the pleasure of scoundrels.
Why did the guild kidnap your mate?
Because I failed to make my protection payments. And as you can see, Republic security couldn't care less.
Oh, for goodness sake, Nick, give it a rest.
There's no telling what humiliations and depravities Rhea's been forced to endure. My beloved is worth a great deal to me. Bring her back and I'll reward you handsomely.
Oh,
I'll
right.
take care of that.
Thank the ancestors. I cannot express what
Maybe
this
he
means
is
to
the
me.
key. I don't know. That's
Rhea
not what the
is being
tutorial
held with the
said,
other
but
dancers in the guild headquarters. She's a beautiful novelin with lovely green headdresses. I'm sure you'll know
just a
her.
princess trying her best. Just trying my best. That's all you can do in life. Just try your best. Rhea. Rhea. There's our gal. Like they could have a more jacked bouncer probably. No. No. See, I need like that skirt length. Then it'd be a little less irritating. Just gonna be a person, not a hologram, I would think. Covered that half. Doctor, patient, barkeep. Relaxing page. Friendly Wren. Was her name, right? I don't think that's her. Yeah, I don't think so. Dancer. The Senators of Rhythm. That's cute. Where's she be? She'll join you all on stage for a moment. Yeah, Can I ask you guys, have you seen her? No? Okay. You're the only person that says Rin. We need the dancer's quarters. Which would be where? Backstage. That's not a way. She's gonna be backstage somewhere, but where would that be? That's the entrance. It's a no-no door. I think this was a no-no door too. That's a no-no door. Maybe I do need the security key first. Then how did they do that? Group phase, anyone can enter? It's certainly not. Okay, I really thought I needed to do this first. Where would their backstage area be? Is there any doors over here besides that one? No. If I can find it, I can't find the back room. It's not like stairs down through here, is there? No. Get out of the corner. Okay, I really thought I needed to do this first, but I have a feeling it's somewhere behind one of these, and I need the stupid security key first. Villain origin story. They do for it.
Alright, Corso. Let's get out of here. This.
I'm missing a lot in between there and there.
Okay. She is your mate.
Alright, I'll do it. I always was a sucker for people in love.
The ancestors. I cannot express what this means to me.
Pull my
Leah
hair
is
out of my
being
head.
held with the other dancers in the guild headquarters. She's a beautiful Nautilin with lovely green headdresses. I'm sure you'll know her.
Right.
Oh, they're not even going back in, are they?
Alright, Corso. Let's get out of here. This.
Okay. Don't make any sense. But okay. They were just past the green doors. You make your Sith character, make sure you use lots of blush so you know you're a baddie. I wonder if you can. I think there's character customization within here. Oh no. Somewhere in here I can change my hair and all of that. Man, oh, I can equip him with stuff. I shouldn't have thrown away the other clothes. Oops. I could have beefed him up a little bit. Oops. I didn't know I could do that. They went that way, I think. Then to the Lucy. Does that look right? See barrels. Barrels. Yes.
Hold off the guild! Don't let them take one more inch!
Okay. You just want your manservant to be naked. We see how it is. He's not naked. He just has basic bitch clothes. I'm trying to be his sugar mommy and fancy him up a little bit. But instead I threw away all of my spare clothing. What a way to die. He's using the Force even in death.
They're having shootouts in the street. And here I thought Coruscant wouldn't be any fun.
Ay caramba. Can you switch me? Oh, he just is a different character than me.
Alright. There. Better?
Dang it. Guess I can't stand in the middle of trouble without attracting more trouble. I don't have that princess privilege. Are those barrels explosive? Oh, they are. Target that instead.
That ought to fit you.
And get exploded. I did not notice that. The more you know, the further you go. Where is he laying down? That was awkward. I'm taking a little nap on the job. His buddy looking out for him. Okay, I'm going to assume mild safety in this moment. Around and up to the side.
Man, this is way up here.
Oh, he's so nice. He waited for him. I never wait for him.
Guess it's this way then.
Up to the side and to the Ricky. Sneaky sneak. Sneaky sneak. Sneaky 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 sneaky. Tell them they're union rep on them. Do it. Blow the whistle. No booping. Don't boop me. Don't boop him either.
There. Better?
Oh, better. Next. I guess I just assumed they went that way. Fully. The Force called to me and told me to go in that direction.
Excuse me.
And then to the Lucy. To the orange space. Okay, big area. I know what the space is.
Give me a with these guys.
about as directionally savvy as I am.
There, better?
This is not helping my sense of direction. Bitch, where the fuck did you go? I'm looking for the PlayStation controller. It's not what we need at this time. Somewhere this, I think through here? I don't even know if they're going the right way or the wrong way. They're just going away. And I'm either intelligent enough or foolish enough to follow. Do, 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 do.
Almost there. Finally.
Another green door, and then there should be an up. Yes. Can we finally access this? Did I do something right where we have it now? Oh my god, we have it! I don't know when I got it. Oh, never mind.
Must be some
Clearance
plastic
pass?
data card to open this thing.
There's bound to be
I
somebody
don't have
running
it.
with a clearance pass.
It's more
Ready for some
foolish
more
the
action,
fool or the
Captain?
fool who follows him. My dad said that to me quite a few times throughout my life, mostly in high school. Because, you know, your friend... Well, what did I do to change that perspective? I don't want that. What did I do? How do I put myself back? May or may not have gotten a little bit of trouble by association. And I was told that. I did it quite a few times. How do I put me back? I don't know what I did to change my perspective. Oh no, I don't want that. Ah! I hit a button on the keyboard and I don't know what. What had the keybinds? Okay, Google. Ah, it was the mouse wheel. I thought that meant, like, I don't know, in terms of, like, the whole environment, not just me. Good call. Good call. Up this way. And now we're back in the merchant market. Maybe that's their dressing room? I was finally able, I think I did have to interact with that quest to interact with that, though. I wasn't able to toggle that at all before. I mean, I don't have the key for it, but I was finally able to actually interact with it. Years of experience gaming. I wasn't more of a console girly, and when we did play on PC, it was mostly via joystick. I've had to learn the keyboard gaming on stream more or less. Few games here and there, specifically keyboard, but
I hate bouncing into people.
mostly joystick.
Gotta be somebody around here with a clearance pass. You ready for some more action, Captain?
Joystick needs to come back. I loved it so much.
I guess. So I gotta run all the way around.
Oh no, I thought they went up. Do we have to go back?
Guard security desk. Door. That leads in here.
This is me really just assuming that they're any kind of right. No, but the club is right here. Okay. Well, we're there, kind of, at least for this. Sidetracking. Ow! Ow! Joystick for flight simulators and mech warriors, pretty great. Oh, I can imagine so. For flight simulator, it would be amazing.
Thank you for considering.
That's something I'd like to try, but there's so many that I don't know which one to try. That's not overly involved, where I don't know what I'm doing at all, or it's something that would make sense to me. Basically, one like that's made for kids.
Nick's worried about you. He asked me to get you out of here. Blast it. I should have known. I'm afraid you've wasted your time. I'm not here against my will. It's okay.
Please explain.
You can talk to me. I'm sorry, I should have told Nick the truth. I was just hoping to spare his feelings. Life with him was miserable. Not only were we barely scraping by, but I was fed up. His jealousy was driving me crazy. He didn't want me talking to anyone or going out. Life here is... it's better.
It is much shorter. It makes me kind of want to cut this one, but then it's not canon, and I don't know. This is not as nice as it could be. There are nicer, slightly more expensive versions of this out. This is the most basic bitch version that there ever could be.
You're really saying you'd rather be a dancer? Oh my stars, yes. Hanera says she's never seen someone with as much potential as me. I can really make something of myself. Could you please tell Nick I was shipped off Coruscant? If he thinks I'm
I think hers was truly floor length, like mine, because Carrie is short.
Stay here. Your secret's safe with me. Thank you. I appreciate your help. Nick's not evil, but I just...
So I think this is actually like perfectly accurate in length. But the fabric should be more sheer, whereas like this is like a bed sheet. Like it's solid. It should be ironed, but fuck that. We don't do that. It should be more like a silk pattern, and this shouldn't be so... I mean, I should have more boobs, but this should be more shaped. Right now it's just taped on me, which is why it has some shape. But it's very stiff fabric. It's not even fabric. It's like fake double thick suede. It's very weirdly designed. By next year it would be nice to have it upgraded, or maybe make my own. I could probably do the designs with like hot glue and then paint over them. And this wouldn't be difficult to turn into a pattern. It's really not that much fabric anyway. But then it would be custom fit, and that would be nice. Return to Nick. I don't remember where he was. We'll get to him at some point. Where did they backtrack to? Should have a chain too, but I don't have any boring plain dog leashes. Not really gonna put the Nightmare Before Christmas one on me, or the horse leads. So back in here? What do they do in here? One of the underbosses has the key. So I've killed about every underboss in here 30 million times.
Of course, it'll remind me to invest in a speeder bike or some kind of mode of transportation to make this
No,
faster.
they're just going straight through. But none of them have had the key. But maybe I need to activate the thing first to get to the key. It seems awfully trafficy in here compared to when you were running through, sir. Do. Blue may skidoo, but Serena does not too. Unless it was super cheap, it would be heavy. I get situationally claustrophobic too. Like last year when I wore this, I had to take this off at one point because even though it's not tight at all, it felt like it was suffocating me. I don't know. It doesn't always happen for the same things or like repeat the process. It's very strange. I don't know how to describe my claustrophobia. Humming power core. Item of no use. Item of no use credits. I think having a chain attached would definitely trigger the claustrophobia portion of it. So weird. Like the first time I had an MRI, I was super claustrophobic, but the last time I did, the most recent one, it was not bad at all. It was very tolerable. Where am I getting booped at from? Oh, you're right there. I never know when it's going to happen. Sometimes wigs even make me claustrophobic. Feels like my head is being strangled, even if it's not any tighter than it normally would be. I wonder if that's more common than not to have situational claustrophobia versus like true claustrophobia. First time I discovered I was claustrophobic, my dad had bought a guitar, and a guitar comes in like a coffin box, but only about yay wide. Just a big long box, and there was stuff down at the bottom in the, what is it, styrofoam? He's like, just climb in and get it, because he was shaking it and it wouldn't come out. And that was when we discovered that I'm slightly claustrophobic. Played saxophone for years, so I guess you got used to wearing things around your neck. Having something over your trachea you don't like. It's a weird feeling. I don't know. Like, this is loose, but I remember it bothering me last year. But this year, I don't even notice it. Am I going backwards? I mean, like, yes, but... Is that where we're going next? Probably about the same size I am now, because I stopped growing when I was 12. I was at, like, the 75th percentile for height up until, like, 4th grade. And then 5th, 6th grade came around, and everyone started getting taller than me, and then I just stopped growing when I was 12. So by consequence of that, I have, like, an infinite amount of t-shirts, leggings, pants, hoodies, everything, because it all still fits. I need to condense a lot of those things, but I don't know what. I feel like when you get rid of something, you're gonna want it like 2 weeks later. I don't know. I'm teacup human. I grew slightly more boobs and about an inch and a half, inch and a quarter, inch and a half in height in my early 20s. And that's all she wrote. So I was 5'2" all through high school. And then at some point in my early 20s, I was 5'3"3/4. And slightly less flat Stanley. Can we give him the overcoat? Let's try. We need a safety corner though. Unknown adrenal. didn't want to gland. Went to the side, I think. Those funny sounds. I don't know if it's like the Pollock in me or like the junior hoarder or what, but if something still fits, I have a really hard time getting rid of it. What I have done though, which I appreciate being okay with, is t-shirts that I really, really love, like old band shirts that I don't want to wear out anymore, and I don't want to physically wear out anymore. I just want to keep them forever. I've been putting them aside in a drawer to turn into a t-shirt quilt. You're in the correct hallway. Assuming this guy is doing this right. I don't even know if he is. I'm trusting that, unlike my VODs, if it gets posted to YouTube, it was done correctly. I pray for anyone who would ever, for God knows what reason, seek out my videos to figure out how to do something. In-game wise, anyway. And up at the ramp. And then where? Safety rug. At least our feet keep growing for life. What? Your feet keep growing? No, they don't. You're a liar.
Have anything? Anything I need? Security pass?
It's supposed to be up here in the market portion that they'll have a security pass, maybe. I think your nose is growing about the feet is growing thing. I'm guessing you didn't get it. Here's grenades. I want grenades. I might have grenades in the corner. I do have C4 in the corner.
Boss, you gotta have something, right? You gotta have it.
I don't know if it's randomized or whatever corner he attacks them from will be the chosen one. Heard the nose things as well. Noses are a conspiracy theory. It's like when you're a tiny little baby, like your nose is proportionate to you. And I feel like as like children grow up, you can see like different growth spurts. Like your arms get longer, your legs get longer, your torso gets longer, you get taller. Growth, changes, etc. Like the nose is always perfectly proportionate to your face. And most other facial features. Like there's never a time, like sometimes you like look at a kid and say like, oh wow, you're going through a growth spurt, you have really long legs right now. Then you never hear, oh, you're going through a growth spurt, you have a really big nose right now. I think facial features are a conspiracy.
Yeah, better.
Do one of them have it?
Dang it.
Yeah, dang it indeed. That's what I was trying to figure out. I feel much less isolated in this struggle now.
Examination and suggested profits. You are fit for duty. Return to your post.
Faces aren't real. I believe it. I have a terrible time remembering faces. Faces and names, but I remember certain features. I don't know how to describe that. Like my friend Selena that I ran into at Exotica. I mean, I obviously know who she is, but when we were still more strangers than not, I could always identify her by her eyes. She has the prettiest eyes. Like, it takes me a second to register faces, but if you have a memorable feature that I can remember, it helps. I get that the theory here is just to run around attacking everyone, but I don't want to get super lost and take myself out of the area. I'm curious where all they go. I have a secret twin somewhere. Wasn't there a social media project or experiment or something that happened recently? And by recently, I mean within like the last 5 years, where someone went out of their way to find like people that look like other people and bring them together and like interview them.
Where the heck do I get this dang security pass?
It's not like a new social experiment that was formed, but it's not old. It's modern enough that it comes along in the timeline scroll every once in a while.
Oh, tell me you got it. Hey! Let's
Okay. It'll be gold when we see it. I don't really know where all they went around to. I'm in the leaves, you can't see me. This is too far again already. I think so. Market service droid. Oh, this is not the correct direction. It is not.
Better?
It's Attack of the Clones IRL. That's interesting. I don't think out here. No. That don't look right. Somewhere in the middle. Clearance pass for the migrant. Is that it? Acquire a clearance pass. I think we got it? I think? Okay. Yeah, baby. Now where do I go, skis? I don't think that was right. Wait, did I need to do something in there? I don't think so. Maybe it's a shortcut? No. I don't know why it told me to go in here. Welcome back, Panda. The 90s Music Takeover Hour with DJ Panda. Now we should be able to use the security panel. I've made 0 progress since I have last seen you, Panda. on the same path. I think we're almost there. I found the security panel. And now I believe I found the key card for it. So we should be able to get in now. Oh, it's downstairs. This was the security panel. I just couldn't interact with it at all, whether I had the key or not, until I opened up another side quest. It was goofy. Insert security pass, or clearance pass.
Awfully nice of the guild to leave a clearance pass with their security patrol.
I cut the grass today and all of the pollen and existences of the real world are upon me. Now we're allowed through. Get to Kixie. Already on kick. I don't know what you want from me. He got a fire gun. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. Sounds like he's saying bitch in his little robot voice. Bench, bench, bench. He had destroyed 6 of these mother truckers. Oh, there's one over there. I didn't see him. He's sitting down. He's lazy shooting. We can't go that way, so we must have to go this way. Get into supervisor droid. What were they doing over there? That looked suspicious. It's free to play online on PC. I don't know if it's available on console. I don't think so. Now we're in a little bit of a safe spot. See this? Oh, I thought I could give that to my companion. How do I... Oh, he already has good rated shit. Okay, never mind. Does he have equal strength clothing to mine? 30, 20, no. I mean, there's a couple things I could have given to him, but that's okay. Open sesame. That was effective.
Monitoring you on
All
the
right,
security network.
we made it.
You sure know how to make an entrance.
Guess we found our slicer. But
When I
why does
play
this
really
sound
thick,
like a
heavy
prison?
games, yeah.
Because it is a prison. Thanks for noticing.
That's just a
Whatever
PS4
issues
flaw.
you're having with
That's
the
every
guild, I'm
PS4,
on
not
your
just
side.
mine.
I'm just a slave here.
Pardon. Sounds like a jet engine.
Your name's Kixie, right? That's my nickname. Short for Kixie Aralu. You came here for
Kixie
me?
LaRue.
The guild locked me up 2 years
That's not
ago.
what she said, but
Forced
that's
me
what
to
I'm
work for them.
imagining now.
I'll do anything to get out. What do you need?
The convertible console. That reminds me of those race car VHS players. Them bitches get hot.
Put me on
Need
Scavic's
information
trail and I'll
first.
free you. Finding his trail is easy. Just look for the slime. I knew that Corellian pig lizard Skavic had ticked off the wrong person. No wonder he was in such a hurry. Skavic paid the guild to clean his identity record. They made me slice into the Republic.
Clean the machine.
And delete all his arrest warrants.
Let it be happy.
You just cracked open the Republic's database.
You can
and
do
changed
that?
things? That's what I do. The Republic administrators never even knew I was there. Sorry, but that's all I know about Skavic. I'm not sure how else to help you.
need
Isn't
to
there some way
find
figure
him.
out where Skavik is? Do you know how many people are on Coruscant? It takes a lot
Replacing
for
the
one man
fan
to
might
stand
help.
out. Hang on. Maybe that's it. Take away
I don't know how
Skav's
in-depth
identity
that
record,
is, though.
and Skavik can't walk 10 meters without attracting
Honestly,
attention.
I love the
It'll be a
PS4.
lot
Until
easier
I
to find.
absolutely have
Can ruin
to, I
Skavik's
don't want to
identity
upgrade
record
to the
for you in no
PS5.
time. If I do that, will you let me go?
They're really only like a couple of cool features where it's like, oh yeah, that would be nice to have. But I don't know, I love the PS4. It works just fine. But I mean, considering up until 2018, 2019, I don't remember when I got the PS4. At least up until 2018, I was streaming off of my PS3, so that's how motivated I am to upgrade. I only have this because there's an amazing Target deal. It was super discounted for the PS4. I don't know how much it was discounted. I don't remember, but it was insanely cheap. Like, we're talking less than $200. And it was a BOGO because of the time of year. It was around the holidays or around my birthday, one of the two. It was in winter. So I got the Pro and the base PS4 for a BOGO. Less than $200. That's insane. Because I feel like it's insane to own 2 PlayStations. I'm probably going to end up selling the other one. I rarely use the one in my bedroom anymore.
Show me what you
We'll
can
see.
do first. I've been slicing the Republic's main databank for years.
GTA 6
Nothing
would
I
probably
can't
run
do.
best on a new
I saved
console because
copies
it's
of everything I
new,
erased from Skavik's
chunky
identity
game.
record. All I have to do now is transfer the data back. There.
If you
Easy.
play that on the
The minute
PS4,
he
it'll
passes an
the
identity
jet
checkpoint,
engine status
it'll
will just
trigger an
take
alarm.
off into the air. So many
Now, what else can you do
possibilities.
to
Don't need to
Skavik's
clean my
identity?
record. I don't have a record.
Depends on how much damage you're looking to inflict.
It isn't even coming out for last gen. What's it gonna come out on then?
Frame him
At
as
the
an
very least
undercover
that.
public law enforcement agent. You really hate him, don't you? All right, I'll plant files with all the criminal syndicates, so they think.
Oh, I
Skavik
thought
is
you meant it
alone.
wasn't coming out for the PS5.
Okay, let me go now, so I can make it out before they lock this place down.
Now I understand. Ugh, everything else makes me sithy.
I was always planning to let you go. Thank you.
You gotta
You're
be
my
good
hero.
tonight.
Maybe we should go check in with Darmus, see if he's got any new info on Skavik.
The PS4 could probably handle it, but it would be breaking its fucking back. It would be dying to please you. Return to Darmus Pelerin, our Gamba friend. He gonna be far, far away. Oh my god, I'm so glad we found that and got through there. I am so proud of us, Club Cult. We did good. We did good. We did a good. Much proud. I don't think we're gonna zoom through here unscathed, but you never know. Stealth, 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 stealth. Ah, we did it! We did it! Hooray! We make it through here too. Oh yeah, but I'm going the wrong way. Oh. They're going the wrong way. Bloop, 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 bloop. Back, back, back it up. We need it to be... the other way. I got the drop on him. sci-fi Lara Croft. A future original character, perhaps. My favorite Lara cosplay crossover that I did was Lara and Harley. That turned out so cool and that was so fun to do. Sneak, sneak. I will not successfully sneak here, more than likely. We love Lara in here. Tomb Raider's thebomb.com. Tomb Raider, Spyro, Ridge Racer, like the cores of my childhood gaming experience. And 102 Dalmatians. I played the fuck out of that game. It was the first game I'd ever beaten in completion. Before Doom. What the hell are you? A vibro sword? That sounds dirty. Where'd it go? Is it only for my companion? What? That's what we have. Where did it go? Whatever. No, not that way. This way. This way. A vibro sword. It reminds me of the vibrating Harry Potter broom that they manufactured. I don't know where it went. I wanted it. I mean, like, I have my own, but I wanted that one too. I'm greedy. I'm a greedy girl. My inventory isn't full. Just chose not to be there. Final Fantasy VII was peak. Peak. You just completely spoiled the ending for me. I never played to the end. But that's okay. I won't remember. I do think it's beautiful when games can emit so much emotion in us, like books would do, or like a movie would do, though. It's a testament to how much we get immersed into it and enjoy it and love it, and how well the storyline was created. It's a lot of feels, but it's a high compliment. Metal Gear Solid I've heard a lot about, but I have never played. Maybe we want to up, and away. Sneaky, sneaky. Sneaky, sneaky. Oh, no sneaks allowed. No sneaks allowed. It like was supposed to simulate flight with the vibration, but it did not stay on the market for long because, for good reason, parents found it to be inappropriate.
Haughty Joker 032 just followed.
This is Mike Mozart of the Toy Channel and Jeepers Media on YouTube with the amazing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban flying Harry Potter broom. Harry Potter's
I don't go out of my way to look at lore.
Broom, and he flies around and around and around because that's all he does. Look, I really fly. What's interesting is the broom.
Oh no,
is
that's not it. This. Like you sit on it, but it vibrates to mimic flight. Shit. Trying to find a better clip of it. I left myself in the trouble sky. It's not safe over there either. Safe.
Today we play with a vibrating toy. Broom. Let's talk about that.
I don't want to open a super long video, but I'm guessing it's just a snippet.
Good mythical morning. Some toys stick around forever, like the ball, or the stick for that matter. But why do other cool toys get pulled from the shelves before they have the chance to become the next ball or stick?
I don't think anybody would consider a stick a cool toy.
I had plenty of fun
You were
with
not a
sticks
child
as
of
kid.
the 90s.
Anyway,
I had a lot
we're
of cool
about to
sticks.
re-examine toys from the past to see if
I need to
any
stop
of them
talking
deserve
shit
a
to
second
Ringo
chance in
about
the
his
toy
stick
chest.
collection.
It's time
I had
for
quite the stick
to be
collection.
discontinued more products edition.
In order to prove that Barbie is no different than the rest of us, in 2000, boyfriend, psycho, it would look more. Why does it? It was nuts for him.
Yep.
We paid $150 for this sucker.
We did?
Yeah, it was originally sold
Y'all ride it too
for
hard.
I did
$20,
not have a pet rock.
But it actually,
I had cats.
it was discontinued because
My dad had a
it
pet
ended up
rock
in
when he was a kid,
adult
though.
toy shops.
He still has it.
Let's find out why.
It's in his
So,
like
I'm not
childhood
going over here.
box of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. Get on there.
I think you just.
Do it.
And if
It
you
do a buzz
don't poke me in
buzz.
the eye with it now.
Hey. So I think you just
I had a
gotta
pet dead butterfly.
get it in there.
It's probably like the weirdest thing I had is like an inanimate object pet.
Whoa! How do you?
And I think, yeah, you can definitely. I mean, you can definitely clean with it. I mean,
Is it gonna? Can it go higher? Can it get
oh,
stronger?
you want to.
I mean, it.
It's collecting
Why does it
crystals almost
vibrate?
like having
That's
pet
the
rocks.
question. What?
I guess in a way.
Can't you tell?
I would consider crystals more of like a decoration. I don't know. I don't have any of my crystals anymore.
Is there room for two on that?
Yeah, right there.
They all became cat toys and found their way to the garbage. How and why? Because someone
Hands free. Go
went,
hands free.
he, what can I get away with?
It's work.
So, how does it feel though?
Before someone figures out what I've gotten away with.
It's relaxing. It's I've never had that much fun in a broom closet before. I'll tell you.
Wasn't cheap either. I think you said it was like $150. I think we want to go down this ramp. Oh, that wasn't a ramp. That was an elevator. Did I leave him up there? Oh no. That's awful. I left him up there. I gotta wait for it to go back up. Fuck. Oh no. Sorry, friend. Oh, this won't even take me all the way back up. Oh my god. Is he gonna survive? Shakies. He can't heal me if I jump off of here and he dies. Can you just like survive up there, bro? How did I get back up to there? Where was there? Like another set of stairs or something. There, ramp. They're following the funniest way. I don't know what the thought process is here, but that was interesting. Is he okay? Where did he go? Uh-oh. Why'd you run past me? What are you all after? Did that not take me back to the... That's not the right lift. Your companion has been defeated. Well, I can't find him. Does that go up and around and over? Yes. I have to follow their crappy directions. Oh my god, okay. I'm deal with you. Oh, I feel so bad I left him up there. That was all my fault. Poor little guy. Nope. There's no escape. Don't need. Where is he? I think we figured last night that if he dies I can revive him somewhere, but where are you, my friend? This one goes all the way to the top, so it can't be that one. Oh, this is madness. Is that a ramp we came up from? Oh no, I think he's the glowing thing over there. I think over here. I probably should have healed first. Oh no, oh no, oh no! I'm dead. I understood the reference. Wilson! It's volleyball. Oh, can't heal in motion. Rude. He's shadowing me. That's a bit uncomfy. Oh, is he spawned back? The medical probe healed us both? Okay, well if he dies now I just know that I need to die and then everything's fine. Now we know what to do. Castaway was a good movie. I'm just focused as fuck on our objective. Dang, I really ain't shit without him healing me. Humbling. One more. One more. Two more. One more. Ooh, one of those. Those are health packs. What are you? You're a shiny box. Do you mean things? You have located a data crown. Pardon. Pardon. Apparently Kik is now implemented. If you lowercase type the name of an emoji, it puts the emoji instead of your word. Okay, now we go down. Come along, R2. There we go. I guess it's like a quick emote setting, but it's not very intuitive. It's a new update feature or something. Why did you guys have to get involved? Hey now, buddy. Oh, sorry, buddy. I left you alone. Did not mean to. This way. Onwards we go. Oh. It's electric. Boogie. Actually never learned how to do the electric slide. Do you guys know how to do the electric slide? All I know of it was those parts. Whatever that is. How did we... Was there a ramp somewhere? Oh no, this way. You're in battle. Why are you in battle? Don't do that. We didn't need to go that way. Why did you listen to me? I would imagine there's more to it than just like the clapping though. It was a cha-cha slide and chicken dance girly. You can feel it. It's electric. Boogie.
We can't hold them without reinforcements.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Better?
Oh, you dropped something gold. What did you drop? Oh, I thought that was gold. It's green. It's less than my clothes and less than his clothes. Neither of us needs it. That's cool though. I am impressed that we can outfit our companion. That's nice. I guess I would have expected that from more like traditional MMORPGs, but not from in here. That's cool beans. Just kind of assumed like they would interact like just a helpful NPC. Boom, baby. What's the Cuban shuffle? That I've never heard of at all. That one is new to me. Oh, okay, it did update the map. We're over here. Not that way. Green door. Green means go. Going back to the club. It's 2:10. I thought the club closes at 2. I guess some close at 4. Although script clubs are usually open till like 5 or 6 a.m. So fair. Now we can enter restricted areas. Get off my screen. I don't know when that will actually be relevant and important of a warning. So I don't want to tell it like, oh, go away, don't show again. But you're all fancier. Where's Polarum? There we go. They're all made in his image or something. Out of range.
An informant spotted you
Okay.
leaving the Mybrid Merchants Guild. I trust Kixie was useful?
The Cupid Shuffle. I never learned the Cupid Shuffle either, but that became popular when I like stopped going to school dances. I never even had the chance to learn. I mean, it does tell you what to do, but I've never been a good listener. Did
you get a real number on Skavik's identity record?
On a world
Go
as
with
crowded
yes.
with people and technology, he can't hide for long. My sources reveal Skavik is doing business with the Black Sun Gang. A dangerous friendship for all sorts of reasons. Black Sun is notorious for keeping holo recordings of all their meetings. No doubt they preserve the highlights of Skavik's visit.
I doubt Black
Holo
Sun lets just
recordings, you
anybody peek
say?
at their hollows.
Black Sun fragments its recordings over several computers.
I don't know what a
to prevent
Cuban sandwich is
unauthorized viewing.
either.
They'll have to assemble the relevant footage by accessing each computer. I should warn you, Black
Sandwiches
Sun controls
sound
an
good
entire
though.
sector
I may
of
make a
us.
PB&J later.
They're thugs with the most horrible manners.
I got some peanut butter. I got some dry goods groceries today. I don't want to get any more like cool groceries, like fridge groceries, because my fridge needs to be, it's a fridge freezer, but the two are not separate. It needs to be defrosted. So I'm trying to eat mostly everything that I can in my fridge. So I can defrost it and then I can get some more groceries. I got some peanut butter for some dry goods today. I haven't had peanut butter in the house in forever. Sammy's always sound good. Hot Pursuit is our next challenge. Or just me getting through the door. It's so nice and peaceful in here. Like, can we just stay in here? Cuban sandwich has pork in it? I would assume so. Most sandwiches have meat in them. For some reason, it's making me think of like corned beef on rye. Is that correct? That's a sandwich my grandpa used to like a lot. Hot pressed sandwich featuring Cuban bread, roast pork, glazed ham, Swiss cheese, yellow mustard, and dill pickles. I'll take the pickles. If you don't want your pickles, I'll eat the pickles. Oh, a Reuben is what my grandpa would like. That's what I'm thinking of. Similar. It looks like it would be filling. Pickles are the best food in the world. I went the wrong way. I could eat pickles the rest of my life and die happy. The other way. Whee! Now that I think about it, I don't think we've come up with a good vegan replacement for, like, there's for chicken, there's for, like, beef. I think we've come up with a good one for pork before. I've had some like jackfruit barbecue before, and I guess that's kind of similar, but the texture just isn't quite enough to be similar enough. Probably be hard to do like lunch meat style of jackfruit too. It doesn't look like we can do much more forward here. There's a window. To the window. I have such a tickle in my throat. It's driving me bonkers. No, it's like exactly the opposite of the way. These stairs? I didn't realize there were stairs over here. There he is. I always get so annoyed trying to remember how they spell different vegan alternatives when I'm making my grocery list. Like sometimes I'll just put things in the cart like online and then use that as my list when I go to the store instead of writing it out. It's like, how did you spell the fake chicken again? What the fuck? You? I think? Not you. You.
Welcome. Please select an available travel route.
Okay, let's go. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I'm on the side view. I guess we only get a butt view. Top view. Welcome, Nubs. Hope you're an awesome night so far. Happy Star Wars Day! Oh, you're fine. I was raised on steak and potatoes, so it's not like meat is the worst thing in the world and just horrible, and heaven forbid that you mention it to me. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I can cook meat, no problem. I can touch meat, no problem. I can be around meat, no problem. I just choose not to eat it. But I was raised on steak and potatoes. Oh yeah, I always forget that the 5th isn't just Revenge of the 5th, it's also Cinco de Mayo. Oh my goodness. Have fun celebrations. Enjoy yourself. You're like not even on the map. Now we are. Not on screen though. Holy shit, that's glitching. That's terrible. I need a functioning map. I don't even know how to read a map, but I need a functioning map. That's bad. That's real bad. I need to go behind me. Where's my little friend? Did he get caught in battle again? Are you coming back down, buddy? There you are. General this way direction? For now, yes. Up to a point. Have a fun night and be safe. Enjoy your festivities. You kind of want to see what you got, but you probably shouldn't. For what? Fake meat. Black Sun Sawbones. He sounds like a pirate. He's a space pirate. A spaceport he is. You know how I feel about time nubs. Time is very valuable. When you have it to share, to spare, 'tis appreciated.
Look at all that hardware.
But life always comes first for us both. When there's stuff you gotta do, there's stuff you gotta do. No, we're still going straight. But we turn to the Ricky at the next possible turn. I don't think there. Probably this. Yes. Where will this even lead us? Thought that would do more than it did. I was wrong. I'll take those. Better. Lifter droid. Why is this space so big? Because we're in space. So Lucy. After the Ricky. Does it mean this way? I guess we'll find out. Annihilated. It's straight until we can go more to the Lucy. Oh no, I need a safety spot. Safety spot. I'll be right back. I'm gonna be sick. Burb, burb, burb. the coziest little cozy bean. Oh, the map put itself back. Good map. Very mindful, very demure of you. I posted some cute pictures of Ringo on Instagram earlier. But in one of them you can see his derpy teeth sticking out. He doesn't have an underbite, but sometimes he pulls his lips back, like, accidentally. And he has, like, this derpy looking, I don't know. It's so funny. I thought he was being very mindful and demure out by the Shrek shed. But instead he was chewing on a plastic spoon, which thankfully I found all the pieces of. But, like, where did you find a plastic spoon? That's what I really want to know. He was picking up litter with me on our walk, I guess. Because whenever I see stuff on the ground while I'm walking the dogs, I pick it up. Do your part with the litter in the world. Here's search. Oh, I really can't zoom that out. Or in, I guess. There we go. He's being so handsome. He just looks funny. He has like a pig face when he does that. It's very cute. You're such a handsome boy. You're so big. They were being so cute this morning too. No, I didn't mean to exit that. I meant to just shrink it. There. Was I going the wrong way? I guess so. Oh, there's still a guy. I thought there was, but then I didn't think there was. Must be up this. Assuming that's an up. It is an up. Good assumption. I'm invisible. You can't see me. Of course, on Heights apartment. Sounds a little ghetto. Anything Heights that's Chicago-y is not bad, but like not screaming of money. Someone is going to be unavoidable. I knew it. I knew it. It's not the way we came in, is it? No, it's new space. It's grayed out. New territory. Oh, here goes nothing. Ah, we did make it through. He's going on about something. I think something fell down there. Hello, fugitives.
This looks to be Black Sun Central.
Well, how do we suppose we can get through there? I don't think that's a jumpable way. Oh, can we go through the side? Ah! It's all about perspective. Where would the one be? Through here? That one's the closest. Mostly-ish. You and your silly bubble. Oh, maybe not through here. The map is no longer mapping in my mind. It means it's tired time soon. When you're very confidently going in the exact opposite direction, that kind of indicates Seeker droid. That sounds like trouble. Oh, you gotta stop that. Retrieve holocord recording fragment. Where's that gonna be? Big seemingly selectable screen? No. So this. That feels very DCU-esque. There's one of them. See if we can find at least one more. To go this way to that. I daren't have a choice in the matter. You can finish him off. Kind of. There you go. Oh, that was big damage. Nice. Very nice. This has been a good run. Sans for getting, like, extremely turned around in the beginning, but that kind of makes sense how it happened. We got through it. That's all that matters. I forgot how much I liked this game. Years ago, I had just so happened to have, like, a free day where I had nothing to do except take care of the zoo. Like, literally nothing. So while my niece and nephew were still growing up, so generally I had them, like, every single day. I felt like playing a computer game, and this one had been suggested to me recently at that point. And it was so good. It was such great fun. And then I never touched it again. Until now. No, that's a lie. I played it twice. I tried streaming it on Twitch for one of my first Twitch streams. I think shortly after that, I had a night where I didn't have my niece and nephew because my aunt's boyfriend was watching them instead. Where's the panel? There. So I had streamed it once. But I don't have the VOD from that. That was a million years ago. And then I abandoned it. Oh wait, do we get there through here? No. That was somewhat helpful. What is personal space, buddy? Personal space. Personal fucking space. Let's see if I can finish this mission and hit the hay. The zoo is all giving me puppy dog eyes, even if it's not a puppy dog. Even the cattos are giving me puppy dog eyes. Well, hello. Oh, I forgot I have that shield thing if we ever run into one of the world bosses again. That would be good to use. They've been conspicuous by their absence on screen. You can't see them anyway because the game is behind me, but Gunther and Zeke are both on the bed just chilling. Chilling like villains. Oh, both of them are in here. Fuck yeah. It's too far away. One more. It should be in this room. Right over here. What is shooting at me? Oh my god. Okay. You. Black Sun Vigo. More Vigo. I now understand that the shape on the ground indicates explosives. I have just realized that. Because there's only one of him in this moment. Get out of my way. Hollow recording achieved. Well, achieved, yes, but also retrieved. View the encrypted hollow recording. How do we do that? All the way back somewhere. Not that there. Rewind. Oh, I thought that was Abby, both of them running right in between. I had high hopes. No booming me, that's not nice. It hurts. Goodies. We're gonna have about 1,000 million common med packs. Someone who dies a lot, I cannot complain.
There, better?
Sure. Oh, there's still a guy. Where? Oh, you have eliminated him. Why is this blinking red? It's not selectable. It doesn't matter. Nope. Wrong way. There you go. Do 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 do. They made such funny sounds. You sound like electronic sheep. It's funny. That last one really belted it out. Where am I taking us here? This way. Up and away. Outlaws and fugitives. I didn't notice that before. That's so funny. Fuck are you? Jesus. Buddy. Not cool. Do 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 do. I totally abandoned what's his face in the other space. When I tried to be Captain Save-A-Ho, I did not relay the information. We did get back to that at some point. Oops. Goodness me, we're getting our steps in. Oh. So close. Target, you goober. We did something. I don't know what, but something. like correct, but not. I can't do your goofy spot drama anymore. It is as simple and easy, or we go to bed. Do you know things?
You've got a minute, Captain. I've got something on my mind.
I've been saying that all night. View the encrypted holiday book. Slightly to the Lucy. Oh, with the keypad.
Well,
Assess the labors of our hard work.
Pays me a visit. Long time no see, Skavik. You must really need my help, huh?
Urbax, buddy, you're such a cynical guy. Can't I just be paying an old friend a visit?
You and friends is the funniest thing I've heard all year. Get to the point before I stop laughing.
Long man from the
I don't think he ever
sticking
started
me with a
laughing.
power coupling. I need somebody to scrape him off.
Lawman, huh? Sounds like that'll cost you double.
Whatever it takes. Look, I'm in a rush to wrap up with the business here. Besides, find a word for my friends makes me feel good.
Nice. So where is this little parasite you want me to remove?
He's at a docking bay in the spaceport, and he's alone. I'm sure he won't give a burly scrapper like you much trouble.
I guarantee he won't. Oh, and I'll be wanting my payment in advance.
I wouldn't have it any other way, Urbax. You enjoy yourself.
It might be this lawman knows how to find Skavik. We'd better try to save him. Let's go bust up that party at the spaceport, Captain.
Alright, next time we intercept Urbax. Though I think I might want to make a Sith character too at some point. The interception. I'm gonna pause here for tonight. Where did the quit game was in the corner of the screen over there last night. Now his stuff is over there. Bruh. The game says never leave. Never stop playing. You are in an unsafe area and will log out shortly. It's how is it unsafe? I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I'm thinking it's fine. Not on me. Oh, I thank you. I tried. I very much tried. I don't know how good of a job I did with my tries, but I actually styled this wig myself. I'm kind of proud. It could be better, but I'm still kind of proud. I like Star Wars Day. It's fun to step into a whole other universe that I really don't for like the rest of the year. It's nice. But thank you. I appreciate the kind words. My effort was not for naught. Just kidding. You guys always deserve everything. Club Cult. Thank you for a wonderful evening. Thank you for spending such a marvelous day with me. What a beautiful holiday it is. Thank you for your time, your chats, your support, and your company. And, more than anything, thank you for your time. Your time is very valuable. And whether it is for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 hours, I don't see you again for 2 years. When our times collide, it is beautiful, magical, amazing, and wonderful. And I am oh so grateful. Oh so grateful. Daw, all just smooches for the zoo. A basket full of smooches. Thank you. I appreciate you being here tonight, Midnight Dynamite. Thank you for your company, the Mad Topher. I hope the night is marvelous for however much of it you are all awake for. Welcome, miss. You're catching me right at bedtime here. You're just in time to say goodnight. Happy Star Wars Day! I hope the day was wonderful for you. If you guys want to keep up with me offline, hop into the Disky Boo. Otherwise, we got the fun stuff, the socials, some more fun stuff, the sketch run I Will See You Bebs next. And thank you all for being a part of the Stream the Dreams project. Additionally, so, you sweet babos, thank you all for your support with Mr. Voya Bean's care costs. I am immensely grateful and extremely thankful for you all for your support. It's very happy now. Yay! It's the goal in life. Smile a day keeps life at bay, right? Do me one favor until I see you Bebs next, and that is remember that you are wonderful, amazing, incredible, spectacular, kind, fantastic, oh so gorgeous, and all the good things in the world. Take all of those compliments and put them into your back pocket, your side pocket, your cute little hoodie pocket, your adorable little shirt pocket, floating in suspended animation, or wherever it needs to go until I see you next, you sweet babos. Be a beautiful rest of your night. Get some good eats, get some good sleeps. Make good choices. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And I shall see you all for the next one. Good nighty night. Good nighty night, Club Cult. Happy Star Wars Day.